Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Hearts and Hands, written by O. Henry. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and/or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. So, this work by O. Henry is very short but very interesting. What we basically get within this short story is that there's a criminal by the name of Easton and a marshal that go into this train in Denver, and there's this woman that Easton knows by the name of Miss Fairchild. Now, they're from out east. Currently, they're in the west, and Easton is going to prison for counterfeit, and it's for 7 years. And so it's a very awkward situation. Miss Fairchild recognizes Easton on the train, and he's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, do you remember me? I'm Miss Fairchild. We know each other back east. What are you doing here?" And the marshal is not an attractive man. He's an ugly man. He's just not an appealing, handsome man. Easton is handsome. He's from. We can say that he's from a richer background, an upper class background, and Miss Fairchild is surprised to see him. And the marshal here, which is very kind, very I guess we can say he's not trying to embarrass Easton. He's very generous. He declares that he's the criminal and that he's the one being taken to jail, to prison. But it's really Easton that's being taken to prison. But while you're reading the short story, you don't really know that. You don't know. You think the story does its due diligence to make you think that it's the marshal that is the criminal and Easton is the marshal, but it's really not. It's the marshal being kind to Easton, not trying to embarrass him even further and make his life harder than a 7 year prison sentence. And so basically, this goes on, and the marshal pretends to be the criminal. Easton, he pretty much continues the narrative. He says, he's doing this job because of the money. He needed more money, and so he's going to do this job. And so the marshal plays along. They pretty much pull it off. They pull it off, and Miss Fairchild buys it. And then later, the marshal says, he needs a smoke, and they get up and leave, and they say goodbye to Miss Fairchild. And there's, these two passengers that say, it's really not, it's Easton is a very young, handsome man. It's not him that's the marshal. He's very young. We can see that he's kind of young to be the marshal, because, first of all, marshals don't put criminals on their right hand side. They usually put them on the left hand. And the marshal is the one that, or the man that we consider to be the criminal. He has Easton on his left hand side, and his right hand side is free. And so the passengers that overheard the conversation, they're the ones that tell us what's really afoot, what's really going on. And so, the marshal, Easton and the marshal, they walk off. We know where Easton is going. We know he's going to prison, and that's pretty much the short story. So in terms of analysis, in terms of deeper meaning here, there's a lot to take in. Number one, it's this man of the law that's protecting this criminal in Easton. And although he didn't have to do it, he could have embarrassed him. He doesn't embarrass him. He actually lifts him up. He doesn't throw him down the dirt in front of this woman that Easton knows. And he plays along, even though that his face. His character is being tarnished by saying that he's the criminal, he's the one going to jail for something that he didn't do. And also, it takes into consideration the role of the passengers. The passengers, the two passengers that were listening to the conversation, they're the ones that really fill us in of what's really going on here, what's really afoot, and what truly, the relationship between the marshal and Easton. And it's not Easton who's in charge; it's the marshal. And by the conversation itself, we see how the marshal interrupts. We see how confidently he talks. We can definitely see that it's the marshal that is really in charge when you go back and read the short story. because Easton, if it wasn't for the marshal interjecting and saying all this and that and the third, Easton would have never gotten the confidence and the bravado to tell the Miss Fairchild that he's a marshal, and he's taking this guy in. So that's a lot to take in. Also, another thing you can take from this is also the pressures of money. We know that Easton and Miss Fairchild, they come from a rich background, and when you come from a rich background, you have to keep that up. And so Easton probably got into some criminal activity to keep up with the money that his lifestyle demanded. And if you can't live up to that lifestyle, it's horrible. You can't fit in your own community anymore. Miss Fairchild seems like she has money. She can go on trips. She can go here and there. And Easton, he doesn't. Maybe he lost his way, or he doesn't have any money anymore, so he got into criminal activity, and that shows like how that hunger for money, that love of money, can be horrific, and just destroy your life. Because we see here Easton, he's on his way to jail for some type of a crime involving money. So that's something else that we should take in with this short story. But yeah, that's all I had to say about this work. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.